Now, we can all agree that breakups are hard, and sometimes they can get pretty messy. Still, we somehow manage to get over them and move on with our lives. But what about those who don't? This is the chilling story of the jealous teen who set her boyfriend on fire after a breakup. And the most disturbing part, she wasn't alone. Let's get into it. Seth Jackson was a typical teenage boy living in Summerfield, Florida. His parents described him as friendly, outgoing, and popular with the girls. While in high school, Seth started dating a girl by the name of Amber Wright, and the two seemed very much in love, even posting their relationship on social media for everyone to see.
So today's our 2-week anniversary. Seth and Amber forever.
Best 2 weeks.
Then, just weeks later, the pair broke up, and that's when the drama started. Seth was pissed to learn that Amber had already started dating an 18-year-old guy called Michael Bargo. So he went on Facebook and started posting some nasty things about Amber, calling her an addict and the S word. Amber reciprocated by saying some equally nasty things about Seth, accusing him of cheating on her and hitting her. The two went back and forth for days. Then, on April 17th, 2011, Seth was at a friend's house when he received a series of texts from Amber asking him to meet her so they could work things out. His friends found this really suspicious and warned him not to go. But Seth had been more caught up by the breakup than he was letting on, and so he agreed to see her, but said, "Amber, if you have me jumped, I will never give you the time of day. So if I get jumped, say goodbye, alright?" She assured him that it was okay, and that it will only be the two of them. That evening, Seth went to the rural trailer home of Amber's friend, Charlie Eli. He never came back from there. When Seth didn't come home that night, his parents immediately knew that something was wrong. Seth was always responsible and would call his mom every time to notify her of his whereabouts. And so when he didn't call his mom called the cops and reported him missing. The police first saw this as a runaway case. But what if something more was involved? They started looking at Seth's phone records and saw the text messages between Seth and Amber, and found that he had gone to meet up with Amber when he disappeared. So investigators went to talk to Amber, who admitted that she had met up with Seth, but that he left soon after. That same day, Amber was at home watching TV with her mom and stepbrother Kyle Hooper when the news about Seth's disappearance came up. And as they were watching, Kyle said something like, "He's not missing, he's dead." His mom was really shocked about Kyle's statement and asked him if he knew about Seth's disappearance. And that's when Kyle opened up and told her everything that happened. The mom immediately called the police, and Kyle went ahead to confess everything. He said that Amber had Seth come over to Charlie's house so that they could talk, and Michael shot Seth and that he was dead.
Got into the kitchen, I said no, and then all of a sudden I hear bam, 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 Mike sitting there laying bullets. So you saw Mike Bargo shoot Seth?
But that's not all that happened, guys. As police would later find out, the things that happened that evening were nothing short of evil. Amber was brought in for questioning, and she repeated the same thing as her brother, claiming that she was an innocent bystander and that Michael had threatened her. She said that she and Charlie went to Charlie's room to sleep until 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. the next day. The detective found this really disturbing because how can anyone be able to sleep when their ex was being brutally murdered? Investigators then brought in Charlie and placed him in the same room as Amber and Kyle, hoping that they would start discussing the crime, and they did. They started saying how they just murdered Seth and that he was not innocent. Kyle allegedly said, "Seth is not innocent. He threatened to hurt my sister and burn my house down." So, what really happened? Apparently, Amber had told the others that Seth had hit her, and Michael suggested that they kill him, and they all agreed. They came up with a twisted plan whereby Amber would lure Seth over to Charlie's house, and they would all jump him and take his life. Kyle was the first to attack. He hit Seth in the head with a wooden stick, and then another guy called Justin Soto joined in. Michael then came in and shot Seth 2 times. Somehow Seth was still alive and managed to crawl out of the house, and even made it to the road before Michael shot him again. They then dragged him back inside and put him in the bathtub, and then get this, broke his kneecaps because Michael apparently wanted to roll his body into a sleeping bag. And it gets worse. After they've rolled Seth into a sleeping bag, they took him outside and burned him alive. How sick is that? Can you imagine the pain that he must have gone through before he finally passed on? And these monsters actually stayed up all night drinking and partying and watching Seth's body burn. Neighbors would later recall seeing the terrifyingly high flames, but they thought that the teens were just having a party and had lit a bonfire.
We just saw a bunch of kids partying. You know, kids will be kids. We didn't expect anything until we started hearing some shots.
But even after they heard the shots, the neighbors assumed that they were just firecrackers and didn't think much of it. And things would get even more disturbing, guys. When all that's left of Seth was ash and bone fragments, they shoveled his remains into paint buckets and threw them in a nearby quarry, and then cleaned the crime scene with bleach. And get this, Michael's stepdad, James Haven, actually helped them dispose of the remains and cover up the crime. How messed up is that? James would later say that he heard the group discussing the murder plot, but thought they were joking.
I thought it was a joke because, I don't know what to say because I'm looking at a lot of years right now.
Police were able to recover Seth's remains after sending a dive team into the quarry. They also recovered more evidence in the house where Seth was murdered, and a few days later, all 6 suspects were arrested in connection to Seth's death. There was trial after trial as Seth's devastated family fought for justice. Amber's stepbrother Kyle and Justin Soto were sentenced to life without parole. Charlie, who lived at the crime scene, was also given life, but she managed to appeal and got 10 years instead. She was released in 2020 after having served 9 years. Michael's stepfather also got 10 years after pleading guilty to accessory after the fact. Michael's trial made the biggest headlines as he became the youngest person on Florida's death row. His defense team tried to blame his behavior on troubled childhood and his parents' messy divorce, but it didn't work. When it came to Amber, things were a little bit more complicated. During her first trial in 2012, she claimed that she didn't know that the violence would lead to Seth's death. Of course, the jury didn't buy this, and she was given a life sentence. But then, this was overturned on a technicality because she wasn't read her Miranda rights correctly when she was arrested. So she got another trial in which she was again found guilty of first-degree homicide. Even though she wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, many felt that she was the one who caused the killing. Now guys, this is a pretty messed up case, but you might be shocked to learn that it's not actually the first of its kind. The other case was featured on Oprah in 1992, and it involved a high school cheerleader called Phyllis. She told Oprah how when she was 14, she was dating 2 guys who were both in their 20s and were both named Jimmy. She referred to them as Jimmy number 1 and Jimmy number 2. For some reason, her relationship with Jimmy 2 was not working out. So instead of breaking up with him like what normal people do, she conspired with Jimmy number 1 to kill the other Jimmy. Yeah, I know, pretty messed up.
You were seeing both of them at the same time. Why would you want to kill them?
At the time, you have to understand, I was torn between the two. I didn't know which one I wanted.
Phyllis and Jimmy number 1 came up with a plan whereby Phyllis would lure Jimmy 2 into the woods, and Jimmy 1 would ambush him and finish him off. So on that particular day, Phyllis convinced Jimmy 2 to meet her in the woods, saying that she wanted to show him some marijuana plants. But when Jimmy 2 showed up, Jimmy 1, who was hiding somewhere in the bushes, started firing at him.
I heard Jimmy number 2 scream, and again, I still actually thought that, he's just playing around, and I turned around and looked, and I seen that he had been shot.
According to Phyllis, Jimmy 1 fired a couple more times before he came back out to check if Jimmy 2 was dead. Jimmy 2 was at this time laying on the ground mourning, and Jimmy 1 kicked him in the head several times.
He walked over to him and he kicked him in the head and told him, he said, "You deserve it, you sorry son of a..."
Then Phyllis said that Jimmy 1 stole all the money from Jimmy 2 and then decided to burn his body. It's not clear whether Jimmy 2 was alive or dead at this time, but I really hope he was. They went out and got gasoline, which they poured all over Jimmy 2 and set him on fire. I know I've said this like a million times before, but this is really insane. Where do you even get the guts to do something this awful to another human being? And they did not even stop there. They had expected to see the body burn into ashes, and when they realized that was not going to happen, they decided to throw it into a river.
After we realized that, Jimmy picked the body up and put it in the back of the truck, okay? Drove off to a saltwater creek, and discarded the body into the salt water.
Afterward, they used the money they had stolen to buy a motorbike and went to the beach, acting like they didn't just kill someone. Luckily, the two were later arrested and are are now serving time in prison. What do you guys think about these cases? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section.